She is called a devil, a demon by most. She is hailed as a crusader and a heroine of civil freedoms by some. She is Madalyn Murray O'Hair, atheist, author, attorney, teacher, and certainly one of the most controversial women of modern times. She has led the fight against prayer in public schools, a fight that has now spanned decades, has helped defeat or elect political candidates, and has kept the fires of fury burning in the nation. Mrs. O'Hair is our guest this evening. She's going to be answering questions from a panel of news people. She's here in Lexington as part of the National Atheist Convention. Our panelists are Bill Robinson, editor of the Richmond Register, Bob Hensley, anchorman for WTVQ News, and Carl West, who's editor of the Frankfurt State Journal. Carl?
The issues you have been involved with have received widespread attention in the press. I wonder how you feel about some constitutional issues, civil rights, the public's right to know, issues that have not received that much attention but nevertheless are important. Do you feel that the United States should have an Officials Secrecy Act?
I feel that and I have been fighting, and so have atheists, for a minimum of 300 years in the United States, for absolute freedom of the press, absolute freedom of speech, absolute free, open government. I don't feel that we should even have any secrecy in our diplomacy, but that everything should be open to the inspection of the American people at all times. I feel that, for instance, if Reagan is going to have a summit meeting with Russia, that it should be broadcast, possibly by cable network news or someone who is up on it for 24 hours a day. I would have no secrets anywhere. We don't need any, not in the electronic world today. And beside that, I think that we can only have open human relationships with open speech.
Then if you had been in the military, you would not have excluded the press from the invasion of Grenada.
Oh, well, come now. First, the invasion of Grenada. I think that our president should have been impeached by that. He violated our Constitution. He violated international law. And I'm ashamed of the news media for not openly castigating him for that invasion of Grenada. And I'm ashamed of you all for not deliberately going down in your own PT boat and landing. I would have gone. The other thing is, I am a veteran. I was a commissioned officer in the Second World War and spent my 3.5 or 4 years almost in the European theater of war.
How do you feel about wiretapping?
I feel that wiretapping is absolutely senseless. It should be immediately stopped. There should also be that kind of privacy for all persons. What if someone is engaged in bedroom talk? Really, like Martin Luther King was supposed to have been. Does the government have a right to eavesdrop on that? I am a First Amendment proponent like you wouldn't believe.
Bob Hensley.
Ms. O'Hara, in reading some of the literature that your organization puts out, I seem to be getting mixed signals. Some of the literature indicates that church attendance in the last 10 to 15 years has been on the wane and the moral authority of the church has declined. Yet in some of the same publications, you complain that organizations like the moral majority have too much strength. Isn't there a contradiction there?
No, there isn't a contradiction at all, because when the United States government started, they took a census in 1790, and at that time they found out that only 3% of our populace went to church, despite the claims of the religious community that this was a nation founded on Christianity. We got clear up to 14% by 1865, but at no time in the United States have we ever had 50% of church attendance. The only time we came near to that was during the era of the McCarthy terrorism. And during the McCarthy terrorism, when it was un-American not to be Christian, we reached the highest percentage of church attendance. It has been slowly declining from that time, thank God. Because I feel that it is necessary for people to stay away from churches. Now, what is happening is...
Well, why the moral majority? A lot of people are afraid of it.
But the moral majority isn't, first off, it isn't a majority. It's very small and very uninfluential. And let me explain that. You have Jerry Falwell in a continuing way shouting aloud what he intends to do politically, and you have Vigory doing the same, and you have NITPAC. All of those organizations in a continuing way saying how important they are, how powerful they are. How many senators lost because they intruded themselves into the race? I don't think that that's true at all, and I think that if there was a more careful analysis done of this by the media would discover this. Jerry Falwell brags that he has $1 million a week, $52 million a year, and he does overtly what the churches have done always covertly. When the Roman Catholic Church takes in $25 million a day, Jerry Falwell's a pissant. When the Mormon Church takes in $10 million a day and can dictate who is the governor, who's going to be the secretary of this or that in the federal government, the Mormon Church has power, not the Falwellians. They happen to be the squeaking wheel of the dying church. And the more that the church dies, we're in a post-Christian era, and I don't think that any educated theologian would say we are not. As long as we are in this decline, we are going to have the squeaking wheels like Falwell. So yes, they are loud right now. They are vigorous. They are campaigning. But this is a dying beast. The power is still with the Roman Catholic Church, with 18 million Baptists, even though the Baptists are in schisms of all kinds, and with the Mormon Church. Those are the three most powerful churches in America, not the Falwellians.
Bill Robinson.
Mrs. O'Hare, what have atheists done in the way of, benevolent contributions to society? Churches here in Lexington, there are 3 hospitals that are funded or established by churches.
But those 3 hospitals take Hilburton funds from the United States government. They take over $50 billion from the United States government, the church organizations, and then they administer it, and they say, look at how good we feel. Now, it just so happens that the United States Census has done studies of how well the churches do, not how good they do. And they have discovered that the churches, from their own money, give 0.7% toward charity. But the churches take government money from the VA, from health, education, welfare, Social Security, from every institution of government, and then they administer that.
Yeah, but what have atheists done in this regard, though?
I thought you would never ask, because
that's what I asked to begin with.
Yeah, all right. This is what is so important. Ask me what Christianity did when Christianity was 20 years old, and I'll tell you. It killed thousands of people in religious wars. Ask me what Christianity did when it was 100 years old. It burnt down every university in Greece and Rome. Ask me what Christianity did when it was 200 or 300 years old. It closed every school, it stopped every scientific experiment, and it stopped all learning. And it stopped that learning for 1,500 years. We happen to be 20 years old. And in that time, we have started 3 different organizations that we feel are social welfare organizations. One is for alcoholics, so that we no longer have Christian groups helping alcoholics, but we have a secular group helping alcoholics. The second thing is that we are attempting to assist how we can secular persons in prisons in the United States. The third thing that we have attempted to do is to establish an educational organization which assembles historical information in regard to church-state separation, and it is being used from scholars overseas.
Okay, but when you're talking about atheists, I refer to atheists in general, not just particularly your organization. The most prominent atheistic ideology in the world today is not your particular brand of atheism, but Marxism.
Oh,
and they have, are they not atheists?
It's a slur. It isn't a question.
What's your
No, get your definitions correct. Marxism is a socio-economic political system. Atheism is a view in respect to religion. Those 2 things are entirely different. I would have expected you to bring in a communist red herring, sir. You're wearing the signal around your neck.
Mrs. O'Hare, do you like being hated?
Ma'am, I didn't invent that. I didn't interrupt you during the introduction here, but I have never characterized myself as the most hated woman in the world. That was a magazine put out by Ralph Ginsberg titled Fact. And Life magazine saw the article and thought that the title was so good that Life magazine stole that title.
So you are taking issue with that title?
Everybody who knows me loves me.
Okay, let me ask you something. Just a few moments ago, they don't know you. A few moments ago on this program, you, in a rather flippant and what has to be deliberately offensive way, said, "Thank God." Why would you say something like that?
That's not deliberately offensive. That's deliberately...
It's bound to rub people the wrong way.
Well, you mean to tell me that Christians are so thin-skinned that they cannot take a joke? There are no Christian jokes.
Are you in a position to be joking?
Yes, I am. I have a fabulous sense of humor. As a matter of fact, I intrude these things, particularly in college audiences, and it sends them off the wall. They love it. And I do use religious references in a continual way, primarily because they're well understood.
Do you vote?
Indeed, I vote. I vote all the time for Mexican Americans, Puerto Ricans, women, Negroes, and any other minority person.
Do you vote for a candidate whom you feel sure will be holding a prayer breakfast within the White House, who will kneel in prayer in the White House?
Ma'am, I will vote for anybody and urge anybody, and at the convention I will urge anybody to vote against Reagan. That's all we need this time around.
So, in other words, a candidate's religious stand doesn't mean that much to you?
It's not a candidate's religious stand so much. I don't care if a candidate is religious. Carter was.
Yes.
Roosevelt was. But I do object to a candidate bringing in religion in such a way that he violates the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. And Ronald Reagan has done that.
But you take no issue now with religious services within the White House?
Well, there haven't been any religious services in the White House since Nixon. Nixon, who was the president who put full-scale religious services in the White House. And after he left, Carter felt that they were inappropriate. He was a Baptist. And since that time, we are not having, even under Ronald Reagan, religious services in the White House. Incidentally, I sued Nixon for those religious services. And the same judge who later on said that Nixon could not be sued for any reason denied my petition to sue Nixon for the prayers in the White House. Later on, that same judge, Soroka, said that he could be sued under the First Amendment in order to obtain his tapes.
Carl West?
Keen on your First Amendment passions. There's an issue in journalism today about the payment of money for stories. CBS, Richard Nixon, $500,000 for the interview.
Oh, I wouldn't pay Nixon a penny.
Checkbook journalism. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's ethical?
I feel that those persons who are in the public eye absolutely should not be paid for newspaper and or other interviews, really. That if they want to make something that they're going to make money on, let them write a book. And I wouldn't even permit them to use a ghostwriter. Let them do it themselves. Show how ignorant they are.
What about payment of money for information that would solve a crime by a newspaper or by a network?
Well, it appears to me that you should have sufficient journalistic skills of persuasion that you should be able to get the news without the payment.
Okay. You once were quoted, I don't know when, as saying that you didn't want to change anyone's convictions, but you didn't want that person to impose his or her convictions on you. Is that quote correct, and is it outdated?
Oh, more or less. We have two attitudes, the American Atheists as an organization and myself as their leader. One is a legal attitude, and that is that under the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, there are two clauses, two religious clauses. One is for free exercise of religion, and the other one is against an establishment of religion. And it appears to me under the free exercise of religion that if people care to be insane and practice a religion, they have a right to that insanity. I'm perfectly willing to let them do it. They can have their own churches, their own schools, their own organizations, their institutions, anything that they want. I have only one requirement in that regard, and that is where I stop to fight. Let them pay for it. Don't increase my taxes so that they can be tax-free on any of their institutions. And in that way, they can do anything, anywhere, anytime, anyway. I even don't see anything wrong with them handling snakes. You know, every time that one of them is bitten and dies, that's one less that we have to worry about.
What about the quote that you never try to change anyone's convictions?
We never do. We absolutely refuse to proselytize because the inherent thing about Christianity, which we do not like, is its intolerance. Christianity says, no matter what kind of religion you have, we are going to proselytize you because Jesus Christ has told us that it's necessary to convert you to Christianity. And atheists will not convert. We will not proselytize. If you are religious, you stay religious. You're not good enough for our side.
Mrs. O'Hara, let me just, before we move on to Bob, mention that I interviewed you several years ago. At that time, you had something different to say about that. I asked you why, if it eases people and gives them succor to go through life believing in God, why you cared. And you said at that time that it wiped out the possibility that they could make a rational decision.
That's right, but see, you have heard one part of an answer and you have not put it together with another part of an answer, which is as follows. I don't care if they are religious. That's their choice. What I care about is that religious ideas are insane. That's what I care about. And I would like to show everybody that religious ideas are insane, that you cannot get succor by thinking that you might be confronted with an everlasting hell. You cannot get succor from hoping that you will have a continuation of your own personal individual life after death, when you can see that physical and material things do die. So that in the one instance, I am aiming in my conversation and in my outreach at insane ideas, saying, hey, sexism is crazy, don't be a sexist. But on the other hand, if somebody's a sexist, what can I do about it?
Bob?
Miss O'Hara, you refer to the insanity of the religious.
Yes, sir.
Is your son Bill insane?
I never discuss my son in public at all. That's not a part of my game plan. My son Bill goes around the country.
He says he believes in God. That's part of your game plan, to fight those people.
I will answer you in respect to religion generally. I will not answer you in respect to any single person who holds a religious idea, including my son Bill.
So you won't comment on whether he's...
Let me tell you what I feel that religion is, and those persons who embrace it have the problem of embracing those ideas. Do you know the definition of psychosis, which is given by psychiatrists generally?
I don't have the Webster definition right here.
Let me shorthand it for you. A psychosis is the inability to relate to reality. And those persons who take up religion as an important part of their lives are embracing those things which do not relate to reality. As many of the scientists said, including Einstein, religion is not necessary to the equation. Religion is fantasy life. This is a dream world. Prayers, angels, devils, heavens, hells, holy book, priests, ministers, all of that is superfluous to life.
Well, you're getting away from my question. Why won't you talk about your son, Bill?
Because I have no intention at all to talk about my family. I have a private life and a public life. And the public life you may inspect. The private life you may not.
Well, let me ask you this. Does it bother you that he follows you around trying to convert atheists?
Ask him.
The question wouldn't be appropriate to him, Miss O'Hara.
But
the question is only appropriate to you.
I refuse to respond to that. I think that that's nonsense. And I will not respond to any questions at all about my son.
Bill Robinson.
A while ago you said that, I was slurring atheists by trying to, compare them with communists. Who are atheists? All atheists may not be Marxist. Well, let me get the question. I
want to go back to it.
Okay, all atheists aren't communists, but all communists are atheists. Or at least,
all right, let's take Poland.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Poland is 95% communist and 95% what? Roman Catholic. Italy has
Are they 95% communist?
Come on, let's look at Hungary. Is that a Catholic nation or an atheist nation? Let's look at France. Is she the daughter of the church? Is that an atheist nation? All of those nations, Spain, Portugal, France, Great Britain on the way, Western Germany, all of those nations are turning Marxist, and they are not communist.
Well, okay.
All communists are not atheists.
All right, I'll admit that may be a slur, but then aren't you slurring Christians when you try to? If someone today wants to read the Bible and decide they like the teachings of Jesus and think that's something that they could and should live by, is it fair to link them to people like Justinian and whoever 1,000, 1,500 years ago who burned libraries and schools?
But you're stuck with your history. I'm not stuck with mine.
Well, but why should? That's part of it.
Because Christianity has demonstrated itself historically in 4 great ways. And each one of those 4 great ways have demonstrated its primary tenet of intolerance. One way that Christianity has demonstrated itself is through religious wars, which we have today with Christianity. A second way was with the Crusades, when there was an attempt to invade another entire part of the geometry of Asia. And convert everybody in that from the Muslim religion, which after all is a valid God-directed religion too. And then the third, of course, was the Inquisition. And the fourth is still your missionary system. And you are all very proud of your missionary system, where you send ministers out to insult other cultures, telling them to abandon their God and turn to your Jesus Christ.
Mrs. O'Hara, where does the Atheist Center get its money?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. You can send $40 anytime at all.
Well, how many Americans do send $40?
We have the American Atheist Center has a structure fee for a membership, and it goes from $12 for students, $1 a month, clear up to $1,000 a year if people want to send that much. And by and large, a great number of people, remembering the 1950s and remembering that once upon a time it was very harmful to say, and they had to say, I am not now, nor have I ever been a member of. So quite frequently they send $40 and say, I am an atheist, I don't want to be a member, here's my $40, don't count me as a member, but do count me in. We have approximately 100,000 families associated with us right now, and they, in a diverse way, support us as they feel fit to do so.
Well, how much money did you take in last year, for instance?
Oh, last year, would you ask the Roman Catholic Church in this city how much money they took in?
Yes.
Would you please? Because we file a Form 990 informational tax reform.
I was going to ask you about that.
We file a form every single year to indicate how much money we take in. We took in $600,000 last year, and we hope we'll do better, and if all of you will join us, we can.
And where did that money go?
Again, this is on our informational tax form. We are an educational organization, and we have spent that money to do a great number of things. For instance, we have 50 outlets for our television program in which we take church-state separation problems and we look at them and analyze them. And these are on 50 different stations: New York, Chicago, San Francisco, etc.
You buy the time.
No, we do not buy the time. We don't have to buy the time, but we produce the programs. We do not buy the time because we're an educational organization. We also are the single organization to put out an American Atheist magazine, which we have deposited free in every major library in the United States. We give free subscriptions to the libraries in order to have church-state separation information in the libraries. We also are the single biggest publishers of atheist books in the world, and we are issuing paperback atheist books. And in addition to that, we have 51 chapters all over the United States, and approximately 3,000 times a year, those chapter directors or persons will get on television and atheism to bring good news to modern man that atheism is here and you can be free from religion if you care to be.
Do you take a salary?
I don't know. I don't have to.
Carl?
You were quoted once as describing American women as cud-chewing, small-talking, and stupid.
Yes, indeed they are.
What did you mean by that?
I mean that American women, by and large, are cud-chewing, non-thinking, etc. I am ashamed of the American women in the United States. I am very, very much ashamed of them because I feel that they have in their possession the future, and that future happens to be children. And instead of making those children politically aware, we have a nation right now of persons who are political illiterates, and we have a nation of religious illiterates. And I am unhappy about that because it appears to me that it's so important that our lives should be good, filled, rounded, rich, and that the American women are not a part of the plan to do that. I am a little bit more happy with some of the recent developments in respect to the women, but my God, women voted against the ERA. Women of America voted against the ERA. I can't believe that. Women voted Ronald Reagan into office. This is incredible. Whatever is the matter with women, with American women? They are not doing a thing about drunk driving. They have not moved out into any of these issues about which you spoke. And I would like to see the American women get up and get involved.
Okay. Carl, quickly, before we move on. Bob.
Lexington, for a number of years now, has gone out of its way to bring conventioneers to this town. Somehow I get the feeling that the Lexington Tourist and Convention Bureau did not solicit your convention to come to Lexington. Could you tell our viewers why you're in this town for your convention?
Well, in a sense, that's not true, because one of the things that we did immediately was to contact the Lexington Conventioneers Association when we wanted information, and they were kind enough to steer us to the Radisson Hotel, among others. We came here because one of the most famous atheists in the United States was born in your country, and so was his father and his grandfather. His grandfather had established the Disciples of Christ churches in America, and Charles Chilton Moore became an atheist, and he issued from Lexington. One of the finest atheist newspapers that ever existed in the United States. And the first issue was in 1884, exactly 100 years ago. And we're here to celebrate the centennial of having that paper issued in
Have you
Lexington.
been treated well during your stay here in town?
I'm just here. Let me talk about that tomorrow or the next day.
Bill.
Mrs. O'Hare, people like all the way from Voltaire to John Lennon have been proclaiming the death of Christianity and the death of the church, but yet it still seems to manage to go on somehow. Do you think you're going to be any more successful where these people weren't?
Well, I think actually that those persons were seeing the end of the church, and it's a long decline. An institution such as slavery or sexism doesn't die overnight. It might take another, 20 or 30 years before we're substantively rid of it in the United States. Europe is pretty much rid of Christianity right now. And as a matter of fact, the church attendance in the countries of Europe hardly ever, in any European country at all, hardly ever gets over 7%.
One other question. Israel is a sectarian state, or I mean, you might characterize
it isn't. It's a theocracy, and it says so itself.
Well, does U.S. support of the state of Israel, without which it could probably not exist, does that violate our First Amendment?
I think that it does.
Separation of church and state?
Yes, I do. I am an anti-Zionist, and I say so quite openly, and we will have an anti-Zionist lecturer at our convention here at the Radisson Hotel this Easter weekend. Well, I'm very, very much opposed to our aiding Israel, and for any reason in any way, primarily because it's a theocracy and it bases its claims on a biblical claim, and it has no right to make that claim.
Mrs. O'Hare, when's the last time you had a threat upon your life?
Oh, let me see. What was it? At least 4 or 5 days ago.
How many threats do you get a year?
I turned that over to the FBI,
You do?
and they have
Constant string of threats, I assume?
They have a constant string of threats and some very real threats, and the FBI has been very good. They've rescued me a number of times. That's a good American atheist institution as far as I'm concerned.
When it became known you would be coming to Lexington, have there been any threats specifically from this town?
No.
Do you ever, in the wee small hours of the morning, have you ever once woken up and said to yourself, what if I'm wrong?
Never. Never. No way.
Not ever. Okay. And what would it take to convince you there is a God? Anything?
Well, he can back down right now. You have the lights on here. Let's bring him down, and I'll talk to him and see if he passes the tests for rationality.
Okay. Anyone have a quick question?
What would be the first question you would ask him?
Why have you permitted us to stockpile so many nuclear weapons to kill all of the human race?
What do you think his answer would be?
He should be ashamed of himself and say, I'm impotent, and therefore it was necessary for me to let it go like that.
Mrs. O'Hare, we thank you for being with us. Our guest tonight has been Madalyn Murray O'Hare, atheist, author, attorney, teacher, and she denies being the most hated woman in America. Bill Robinson of Richmond Register has been one of our panelists. For WTVQ, Carl West, editor of the Frankfurt State Journal, I'm Sue Wiley. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Mrs. O'Hare. Good evening.